How's it going, trainers? Our next new cup is nearly upon us in the GBL, and if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, spring is here. So what better way to celebrate than with the Spring Cup? Join us now as we discuss some great choices for the cup, along with some good teams to spring on your opponents. Welcome back, everyone. So the Spring Cup is a new Great League format where only water, grass, and fairy types are allowed, and as an obvious balancing decision, Toxapex is banned. So starting off, we have water types, and despite Toxapex being banned, we do still have a reasonably bulky water poison type who isn't banned, being Tentacruel. Now Tentacruel is a bit less bulky than Toxapex, but it does have much better moves in its arsenal in the form of Acid Spray and Scald. It'll be very flexible in this cup, being able to handle most fairy and grass types, so definitely watch out for it. We will still discuss some of its strongest counters though, so while Tentacruel will definitely be the big star of the cup, know that it's not unbeatable. Next up, we've got Mantine, who, if you remember from the Color Cup, is a great choice because of how it can beat Trevenant, who we'll talk about soon enough. It's got great bulk, the quick charging wing attack, the debuffing Bubble Beam, and Ice Beam for great coverage. It'll still struggle against the mighty Tentacruel though, so definitely plan its teammates around countering the jellyfish Pokemon. And finally, for the water type, we have Empoleon, who may not have the strongest win record in the cup, but has some good quality wins. Specifically, walling Tentacruel along with most fairy types is a big plus. I don't think it'll be the best out there, but it may be great for dealing with various common Pokemon, so definitely keep it in mind for your team. And there's definitely some other good water types to try out. Qwilfish can make a spammier version of Tentacruel, and Walrein offers useful ice and ground coverage. On to grass types though, we've got Ferrothorn, who is incredibly good here, kind of working as an anti-Tentacruel. It resists all three types of the cup, and resisting Tentacruel's poison moves is pretty big as well. As usual, you'll want Power Whip on it for strong stab damage, but from there, it's your choice. Mirror Shot can be great for baiting and potentially decrease the opponent's attack, but Flash Cannon could be a great choice as well, giving stronger super effective damage against fairy types and letting you hit Trevenant with strong neutral damage. And speaking of, we have Trevenant up next. In just about every cup this Pokemon's in, it's really good, and the Spring Cup is no exception, as ironic as it is to have a spooky tree Pokemon in the Spring Cup. But one of the things that makes it so strong is the lack of normal and dark types in this cup, meaning its ghost type moves can hit just about everything. But Trevenant will fear ice moves, which we will see a fair bit of, so be aware of that whether you're facing a Trevenant or using it. And now speaking of ice moves, Abomasnow makes for one of the top counters to Trevenant. Yes, Shadow Ball hits it pretty hard, but the spammy Weather Balls and Powder Snow should still be enough to take the spooky tree down. Plus, while it's definitely weak to poison and fire, it's still got a lot of valuable coverage for various different threats. And other grass types can work well too, including Tropius, Jumpluff, and Venusaur. And finally, moving on to fairy types, we've got another ice type with Alolan Ninetales. With Tentacruel and Trevenant running rampant, you'll definitely want Powder Snow over Charm, letting you charge up your charged moves quicker. You may not beat Tentacruel, but Psyshock can definitely help you chip down some of its health. Up next, we have Mawile, who's got a few things going for it. Its Steel Fairy typing is very defensive, and running Fire Fang lets you threaten the various grass types of the cup, but you will definitely want to be wary of water types, specifically Mantine and Tentacruel. I'd definitely pair it with a proper counter to those Pokemon, like Ferrothorn or Empoleon. And lastly, we've got a very strong name in the cup, being Galarian Weezing. Fairy Wing gets it to its charged moves really fast, but which ones do you want? I'd say a Brutal Swing and Overheat make for the best coverage across this cup. Galarian Weezing can then take down Trevenant, Abomasnow, and many more. Its main weaknesses are water types though, especially Tentacruel and Qwilfish, so plan around them. Similar to Mawile, I'd say steel types are good to pair with Galarian Weezing. And while there aren't as many viable fairy types, you can run Wigglytuff if you want a good Charmer who walls Trevenant, and if you're feeling really spicy, Klefki can actually do some interesting things in this cup. Now before we move on to teams, I wanted to quickly detail the main trio of Pokemon who I believe will make up the structure of this cup. We have Tentacruel, who is beat by Trevenant, who is then beat by Abomasnow. And of course, much of the rest of the Pokemon we've talked about will fill out the meta. But now, let's move on to some teams to try out. Up first, we have Abomasnow, Empoleon, and Lantern. Now obviously, we didn't talk about Lantern earlier, but it's still another good choice for this cup. Abomasnow is great at taking down most of the grass types and some of the water types as well, but those that counter it like Tentacruel, Quillfish, and Mantine are definite threats, not to mention fairies like Mawile and Weezing. That's where the defensively reliable Empoleon comes in. It can deal with the poison and fairy types really well, while Lantern is there for the rest like Mantine and Pelipper. I definitely suggest Shadow Abomasnow for this team for its extra power, something that can put more pressure on opponents to switch at times. For team number 2, we have Ferrothorn, Mantine, and Tentacruel. Ferrothorn will do exceptionally well against a lot of the meta, but you'll obviously want to be wary of a few Pokemon, including Trevenant, Ice types, and Mawile. I do think Flash Cannon is the better secondary move for it here to help you with those threats. But still, Mantine and Tentacruel are there to pick up the slack where Ferrothorn can't win. Tentacruel as a closer too can be deadly. And for our final Spring Cup team, we have Galarian Weezing, Walrein, and Trevenant. This may be the one I try out personally. Weezing obviously has some incredible coverage across the meta, and its Overheat can definitely threaten shields, while Walrein can tank a lot of moves and dish out its own great coverage, and Trevenant is obviously incredibly oppressive with its higher attack stat. I will say that Steel types can make for a reasonably strong foil to this team, specifically Ferrothorn and Mawile, but those two aren't unbeatable. Galarian Weezing's Overheat and Trevenant's Shadow Ball especially can help deal with them. It's just about alignment, specifically catching your opponent's charged moves on the right Pokemon and knowing whether to switch or stay in. But if you learn the team's quirks, I feel it'll do really well. That just about wraps up this GBL guide though. In the comments below, let me know what team you're thinking of trying out. And if you found this guide helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming videos. We'll be doing a prep guide for the upcoming Sunshine Cup happening at the beginning of May, so make sure you don't miss that. Until next time though, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all in the next video. Take care.